boys and girls, welcome to my channel, I'm For Classic and welcome to BenchART. So for today what I have in here is Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, a game developed by Respawn Entertainment, the same developers of Titanfall. For example, these guys are also very good building single player games, and as an example, this Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, despite I'm not really a fan of Star Wars for itself, I really think this is an awesome game, so I can't even imagine how this game it is good for the fans of Star Wars. But I know that you are here for knowing how this game runs on the MX130 or the GT940 MX, and the settings that I'm using in here, it is simply 720p median settings. This is because this game doesn't have low settings. The minimum you can go for this game, it is really the median, and you can use resolution scaling, dynamic resolution scaling if you want, and you can specify a target frame rate. For example, if you specify a target of 60 frames per second and you enable dynamic resolution scaling, the game will adjust its resolution scaling to try to match to 60 frames per second, which is very useful, but obviously trying to match 60 frames per second with this graphic card will make the resolution scaling to be very low, and the resolution will look pretty bad. So for this video I will be using a max FPS of 30 frames per second and dynamic resolution, which will make the game to always try to achieve 30 frames per second, and when the game it is able to do it just properly, it elevates the resolution to 720p. If it is not able to do it, it is just going to reduce that resolution scaling. So very useful stuff, alright? So this is the requirements for the game. These guys ask for an A3 CPU from the 3000 generation, 8 gigs of RAM, and the mere GTX 650. I believe our system should be probably at the same level or even better than the minimum, but nonetheless I decided to try the game with two different settings. First of all, I decided to try the game with 720p median settings over here, which is the minimum you can go in here, and my average was 34 frames per second with a 1% low of 23. Although with the dynamic resolution scaling I got obviously an average of 30 since the game was locked at 30 frames per second, and the 1% low it was a little bit worse. But although I do think that are more demanding levels into this game than this level that I did try it out, and so for me, in my opinion, I think it's a better option for you to use the cap to 30 frames per second and use the dynamic resolution scaling enabled, because if there is a more demanding level coming up, what it's going to happen is the game won't be dropping frame rate. Although this game suffered from a big issue, and this is present in all PCs, even on my desktop, which is much more powerful than this laptop over here, I got these issues. So the game stutters a lot from time to time, loading scenes or just camera panning from one place to another. You can feel some stuttering going on. It is not stuttering as much as on this laptop, on my desktop, alright? But still it does stutter in all the systems. Consoles are also not perfect, despite consoles doesn't stutter as much as the PC version. Consoles, for example, sometimes fails to load the map and your character just goes to nowhere, just falls into nowhere outside the map, for example. There are a lot of bugs on the consoles due to that. On the PC, instead of that, you just get stuttering. It is the only downside from this game. This game, it is simply amazing. It mixes up a little bit of Uncharted and the Tomb Raider into the Dark Souls gameplay. And the good thing is that if you don't like Dark Souls because it is way too difficult, this game it is far more accessible, you know, and I really think it is an awesome game, a lot of action going on, awesome soundtrack from Star Wars, a lot of pressure coming up from the Uncharted and Star Wars with some platforming and climbing. It is really good, and there are some RPG elements into the game, like for example you gain experience and you can evolve certain aspects of the character. There are stuff for you to discover into these maps. I think this is really a great game. It is hard to say this, but it seems that EA finally came out with a huge game. There is no microtransactions, DLCs or anything like it. It seems rare nowadays a game to not bring any of these, and especially coming up from EA, it is really rare. So Respawn have made a huge thing in here, and I really think we should support it by buying the game. And as you can see, the game just runs absolutely fine, and despite we are using resolution scaling and we are using the lowest settings, which is the median settings in this game, this game looks amazingly good and just runs fine aside from those stutters. Alright, so guys, I think that's all that I want to talk about Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. Hope you keep enjoying the rest of the gameplay, and I do hope to see you soon. Goodbye.
Direct hit! I'm taking point on this pursuit. Don't be next. Come on, don't let him get you.
Moving out.
Where are you taking us?
The Empire's forced the villagers from their homes, frightened refugees, shipped off to work camps, or worse.
Jedi! He's there, right there. We're alone now, Chip.
Looks like a problem.
I'm hungry. It's reducing the quality of my posture and aim. The wind's big. Got me. Take this one.
might be one of those now. Guess we're on the right track now, Pete.
I can't get it.
Come here, beer piece. Listen. Sorry about your snuffling.